folks. Welcome back to Indaba Africa. This is Chris once again. Well, there you have it. I subscribed on my rugby channel to my own channel this past couple of days, and I just got a notification that my show is going live 2 minutes ago. Thank you, YouTube. At least I got a notification. I'm pretty happy about that. So, well, folks, welcome back to Chris Wyatt. This is Chris in Central Pennsylvania, and my guest today is someone that I've been chatting with for the last couple of years since he started his morning shot empire, which started coincidentally around the same time as mine did. But fortunately, he's somehow been able to avoid the harassment from the poo tube. But welcome to the program today, Roman Cabanac. Hey, Roman, how's it going today?
Chris, very well, thank you, and thanks for the kind invitation. And apologies if my sound's a bit off. We have a huge thunderstorm here in Johannesburg, and it's interfering a little bit with my microphone. So apologies in advance, but hopefully we can doesn't interfere too much with the conversation.
Well, as one of my viewers said last night, I don't think that some people, certainly the ladies, are all that concerned about the sound, because when I mentioned that Roman was going to be back on the program today, she's like, ooh, Roman, yeah.
Everyone does that except for my wife.
Yeah, maybe there's some truth in advertising from the spouse. Who knows? You never know. But seriously, hey, listen, let's touch base, and we'll get to what's going on with Morning Shot. I did, of course, see the video you did with your producer there. I thought, wow, I didn't realize you had a producer. I thought you did this all on your own, but with your producer there a few weeks back, and I did a little kind of satire video, which a lot of people didn't know. I said to you before I published it, because I didn't think it would offend you. You got the satire in it, but it's ironic, Roman, because a lot of my people said, "What's the argument between Roman and Chris? Why are you pissed off at Roman?" I'm like, huh? Did you miss the point of that? It was satire. But anyway, so we'll talk about where Morning Shot's going a little bit later in the program. But, oh, man, let's talk about South Africa. Get started with, well, you're going to bring in the new year with a bang. Let's start with a fire at Parliament, and it just goes from there.
So, yeah, New Year started with mostly, I think, the Zondo Commission report that came out. Or was the Parliament fire first? I actually don't know.
The Parliament fire was first, but the conspiracy theorists started going, well, they burned it so they can't present the report. And I'm like, you don't need a building to present the report. You could stand on a street corner and deliver it. But yeah, the fire came first. It was on the 3rd.
Okay, fair enough. The fire came first. They found this homeless chap around the corner. They arrested him before the investigation, before the fire even died down in Parliament. They found this homeless chap. They said, no, he was the evil mastermind of this plot. Apparently they found him with explosive material, whatever that might be. Maybe it was a lighter. I'm not too sure. And now he's been sent for psychiatric evaluation. And apparently, there you go. Case solved, Chris. Case solved. A little bit like the July insurrection where they arrested a DJ and some person on Twitter. And there you go. Case solved now. They all got bail, by the way, of less than 5,000 Rand, which is a pittance. But don't worry, the cases are solved now. There's no one else was involved. Look somewhere else. Look somewhere else. And then the Zondo Commission report came out, which was, and the contents thereof are a surprise to absolutely no one except the people at News 24 for some reason. They were shocked to find that there was like the systemic, corruption to South Africa based in the ANC, even though the report didn't actually say that quite yet. They like to pin it on certain people rather than the underlying policy that allows all of this to happen. And then most recently, Lindiwe Sisulu's PSYOP comes out and she attacks the judges, and everyone says, oh, Lindiwe is a terrible person, protects it all, and the judiciary. At the same time, by the way, that the cadre deployment meetings come out from the DA, which is the actual real story we should be focused on, but unfortunately we don't have journalists, we have morons. So the personality politics of the ANC somehow gets more clicks than the actual policies that have destroyed the country.
Well, I do want to correct one thing in that narrative you just shared there, Roman. I don't want you spreading fake news. I have it on Sound Authority because I read News 24. I do have a subscription to their site now, so I can read all behind the paywall stuff. But News 24 did assure me that there were 8 things you should know about Zandile Mafe. Those 8 things, number 3 was he's not homeless. He lived in the Cape Flats. Of course, number 8, you get down there, you get to number 8 if you stick with the story that long, if you can stomach it. The number 8 said that about 2 weeks prior, he'd left the Cape Flats and had been sleeping on the street in front of the cathedral. So I don't know what the definition of homeless is. Do you have to have a minimum residency period on the street of 30 days before you're considered homeless? Perhaps that was. But the source itself, News 24, assures us that he's not homeless. He was living in the Cape Flats, although he was residing on the side of the street there in Cape Town. News 24. Useless.
If that's the only correction, I stand by everything I said.
Well, the Lidway Sislusu thing, it's my sense on that one. I saw it. First off, it came out and it had almost no attention for nearly a week. She wrote it, nobody noticed it. And then I think somebody pointed it out to Zondo or somebody of the judiciary whose feelings were hurt, and suddenly it just lit up like a fire. And of course, the immediate response from the little hacks that come out to defend, who get free op-ed space in all the major media sites in South Africa, was that the cabal was attacking Lindiwe because she's black and she's a woman. No, she's a moron and she's full of manure. That's why we're attacking her. We're not attacking her. We're attacking the feces coming out of her mouth. It's ridiculous, and of course, it's all race hustling too. That's the part that's being overlooked. She is attacking the judiciary, but it's all race hustling. Colonialism and land and all this stuff. It's nonsense.
Well, I mean, I would argue Lindiwe Sisulu is far more honest about what the ANC wants than the ANC itself. Well, and this has been ANC rhetoric for like 60 years. Why are we attacking her for telling the truth?
Well, she does throw out a few pearls of honesty there. She does. She talks about, people enriching themselves, but I don't exactly see her living in a tin shack in Alexandria there. She's not exactly suffering herself. And of course, part of this, I suspect, has to do with her kind of, sensing the wind, testing the wind to see where it's at, because Cyril's weaker than he's ever been.
So I have a conspiracy theory, and you're not allowed those on YouTube, but this one is not the one to get you banned from anywhere. So I have a conspiracy theory that she's been set up to do this on purpose to make Cyril look good for the elective conference in December. Here is the first person who might want to go against Cyril. She talks about the typical, what they call the radical economic transformation faction. The typical talking points of those people, which are not all wrong. Like they're not all completely incorrect and lies. And the Zondo Commission report comes out, the cater deployment minutes of the meetings come out, and then Lindiwe Sisulu wrote this piece a week before, and now it's all of a sudden the biggest news in South Africa. Is it not like a classic sleight of hand, Chris? Exactly. I know maybe I'm giving too much credit to the ANC, but the ANC is malicious and stupid. Like, not just dumb, like they're malicious and dumb. And this seems to me like a perfectly normal thing to do for a party like the ANC, because they know that if Cyril doesn't win, they are completely dead. Like, he's far more important than the party in terms of popularity, and therefore we need to set up these fake opposition factions in the ANC to make him look really, really good. Mm-hmm. And the corporate media and Zondo and everyone else, they're all Cyril Ramaphosa henchmen. So of course they come out without any invitation and defend the president and the judiciary as it is.
Well, every theory certainly is reasonable and plausible. We don't know the motivation of it, but in the chat, a couple competing theories, one disagreeing with you, one going in a different direction. Arctic says that she's just a court jester sent to distract from the Zondo report. There's probably a lot of merit to that. And even if she isn't the court jester sent to do it, that's the effect of it. No one's talking about the Zondo report, despite the fact that 48 people are named as criminals in it who should have been sealed indictments and already have bracelets on them. Yeah, that's the whole thing there. So that Arctic, I think that's pretty prescient. That may be what's going on. And then just below that, Vernon Nylager says, I got to disagree with weakening Cyril. The ANC's top position is up for grabs, and Zwele are positioning themselves. Yeah, Zwele and Kesey. Okay, so Deborah Olivier just became a member. Let me get the salute there real quick. Thank you for becoming a member. There's your RDP house, Deborah Olivier. Don't forget that we build a fire pool in the back. You'll have to wait for rainwater to fill it up. Good news, Eastern Cape is being inundated with water. So if you're in Eastern Cape right now for your RDP house, your fire pool will be filled pretty quickly. But it won't rain again for 5 years because of global climate change. So bear that in mind. No electrical hookup, no security, no rubbish removal. It is a genuine African National Congress RDP house. So enjoy that house for 30 days. Then we upgrade you to a Moai. Anyway, but seriously, Roman, a lot of different thoughts out there about it. But we're talking about this instead of talking about the Zondo report and prosecuting people who should be in jail. I mean, I had Rob Hutchison's on my program now. We do a weekly thing called Answer the Question. And Rob and I were talking, and Rob was talking about this, and I said, what are your senses on this? He asked me if I thought it was worth the time and effort. And, a lot of people are not happy. It took, 8 years, or not really to take that long. It's really about 5 years when you actually went into commission. But about 4 or 5 years to do this, R1 billion supposedly spent on it, endless hearings, yada, yada, yada. And no secrets because there were open hearings. We know what it is. What I told to Rob and everybody before that, from my perspective, what I care to see is executive summary, the recommendations, and the findings. That's all the rest of the stuff, the testimony. It's great, but whatever this is done, that is evidentiary. That can be used in a trial now. That's been a thorough investigation by judiciary officials. And it's there. A record is formed. This can be used to prosecute people. Now, will they ever prosecute people? I wouldn't hold my breath, because you'll just like a Smurf. You'll turn blue and pass out. But I'm saying that at least it's there. A lot of people think it wasn't worth the time. What are your thoughts? Was Zondo wasted time, or something we knew and nothing's going to happen, or does it form something useful?
All of those things and more. Number one, it was a complete waste of time and a complete waste of money. Everything that the first part of the report said was public knowledge for the past 5-6 years. I mean, there's nothing strange there. Number two, in terms of recommendations, I mean, the useful thing about Zondo was actually testimony from employees of the ANC. I mean, that was just a laugh a minute, right? Where the woman is a chartered accountant, she doesn't know what a balance sheet is, or something to that effect. Like the essential so-called professional class deployed by the ANC is just, it's almost tragic, but it's still funny at the same time. I mean, that woman from SAA was absolutely hilarious. Number two, it costs far more money than expected and was necessary. Number three, the recommendations can be made by any other normal person. Oh, have a independent body that looks at corruption cases. Oh, I'm sure back in our past we had something called the Scorpions.
Yep.
But the same people who did the Zondo Commission were the ones who got rid of the Scorpions. Okay, so basically, the Zondo Commission is basically saying, go back to like 15 years ago and use the same mechanisms that the ANC destroyed to solve the issues the ANC has created in the past 15 years. Like, it's just like a regression in policy at best. And as for the possibility of anyone actually getting arrested, I think the white people named would, like Eric Woods, for example. Like, I think there'll be one or two scapegoats from the private sector, but like maybe from Bain or maybe from KPMG or something like that, or Eric Wood himself. But other than that, I'm not going to hold my breath in any meaningful way. The MPA is completely useless. The Special Investigative Unit is completely useless. The judicial system has been captured a long time ago. It's not within the ANC's best interest to actually follow any of the recommendation of Zondo, because they know that they will destroy themselves and run out of money faster than they currently are. So it was a complete waste of time, but it was a lot of fun while it was happening.
Well, the $7.1 billion on what was supposed to be a $3.6 billion defense purchase of Gripens, Type 209 diesel submarines, cruisers, Hawk lead-in fighter trainings, none of which was necessary for the South African military. New personnel carriers, barracks, training facilities, health accommodations. That's what was needed for the SANDF, because what they really used them for was peacekeeping and border security with Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Swaziland. Instead of putting money there, they put it into these white elephants so that Ramaphosa and all his friends, not Ramaphosa, Zuma and all his friends, maybe Ramaphosa, who knows, but Zuma and all his friends could steal, and that's what that was all about. 7.1 billion. I just sneezed at 1 billion rand. That's $7 billion. That's north of, or about 100 billion rand. So I sneeze, and that's also, pre-inflation adjusted. We're talking 2 decades now inflation for that money. If that was a package today, it would be north of $10 billion easily. So, I get the point, and people think it was a waste of time. And you're right. It's the whole thing is captured, and nothing's going to happen. That's what's so sad about this. I mean, if we look at the VBS scandal, I believe the only prosecution and conviction I've seen is the stupid white banker who was involved, who took a plea, and Shivambu brothers and nobody else have been prosecuted. VBS is still floating around, and people are bankrupt.
As far as I know, there were 8 people arrested for VBS, and that was close to 18 months ago. I mean, the white guy turned state witness, of course.
Yeah, well, there's been one conviction. It was a white guy. That's it.
Because he made a plea deal, not because he was actually prosecuted.
No, it's right. He took a plea, but yeah, that's what I said. But I mean, he's the only one. No one else is being pursued.
Yeah, and I mean, once, I don't know, we'll see how useful he is as a state witness. But no, I have no faith or hope or anticipation of anything actually happening in South Africa until 2024, where, I don't know if you might agree on this, the ANC will probably lose the national election. That's my prediction for now. I don't see a turnaround before then. And arguably, hopefully, Cyril doesn't actually win the next elective conference. I know that those odds are quite low, but it would be very good if
low that he won't win.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. make sure I'm clear on that.
Yeah.
Low they won't win. Okay.
Because with Cyril, they might get like 46, 47. Without him, like 40. And that would be great. So like Team Lindiwe, that's me.
Well, you and I have not really chatted in a number of months, certainly before the election. And, the DA came out and was crowing about, now I find this funny. I still have the screen captures from Twitter. We're the only major party that didn't lose ground. Excuse me? They keep looking at 2019. That's a red herring. 2019. 2019 is a national election. It's not the same as a municipal election. Traditionally, municipal elections, as I told people ever since June of 2020, when I started urging people to get out and campaign, is that you'll get 30 to 38% of the electorate, 31, 38% in the municipal election. And that holds true here in the States. Municipal elections are much lower turnout. We just had one in which I got elected. But anyway, so I'm a judge. Yeah.
Are you a judge, Chris?
I'm a judge of elections. I got elected on a write-in ballot. I campaigned all of 2 days and won the election by 3 times as many votes as my competitor.
Well, congratulations. Very good.
Thank you.
This is like an esteemed, like, geez, I just thought it was Chris Wyatt, the Indaba Africa group. Now it's like Judge Chris
Wyatt. I
Wyatt.
thought I was already esteemed. I'm a colonel,
Fair enough.
No, but I'm a judge of elections. Well, I went to the primary because I'm registered in a political party now. I wasn't when I was in the Army. So I went to the primary and I looked and there was like 8 positions. There was nobody on the ballot, but that was for a party. I'm like, okay, the other party must be standing somebody, so I'll see in the fall. So when the ballots were published online, I went and looked at them about 6 weeks for election, and neither party had a candidate for judge of elections. And I'm like, what? I mean, this is the person that's responsible to make sure nobody's shenanigans going on at the polling station, making sure that there's no illegal campaigning going on, nobody's being harassed, that sort of thing. And I said, that's not acceptable. So I told people about it online. I mentioned it. I went on my radio program, mentioned it a couple of times. And then I went throughout my neighborhood, which is in the district, the Sunday before the vote on Tuesday. You guys vote on Monday. We vote on Tuesday. And then I went out and I went to neighbors whom I know, at least in passing, I've had conversations with. And I took a little postcard I made so they knew how to vote for me. And I asked them for their vote. And then on election day, I had to teach one of the intelligence agencies distance, because that's how we do things now. In the morning, once I finished, I went to the polling station, spent about 2.5 hours there. And then I came back in the evening. But by 1 o'clock, 80% of the people who are going to vote had already voted. So I was there at the right time. Anyway, I won. So I'm judge of elections. And, so it reminds me of that movie with Rob Schneider, Dredd. I am the law. Judge Dredd. Anyway, yeah, so I got elected. But anyway, so we haven't chatted for a bit because you didn't know that. But let's see. So back to the election here. The DA crowed about, the ANC's been below 50%. I'm like, okay, stop. You got to be honest here. That's not even an honest statement. The ANC is well below 50%, not 46%. It's 13% of eligible voters. Now, that's the stark, shocking number that it seems that nobody in South Africa is talking about. You may have done it. I've been religiously watching your program late because I'm busy, but no one else is saying this. And here's the bottom line. It's not 46%, DA. Wake up. It's 13%. But, of course, they don't want to mention that because it makes them look even worse. And here's the other thing. 2019 is a red herring. That's a national election. You got to go to 2016. That's a comparison, the app comparison for the municipal election. And in that, the ANC got clobbered. They lost 32% of the vote they had from 2016 to 2021. It's amazing. I mean, mostly people stayed away. But here's the thing. While the DA is crowing about not losing any votes, they lost 37%. They went from 4 million to 2.5 million. They couldn't even, if they had just turned out the 4 million votes that they had in 2016, this thing would be a serious dogfight right now. And the ANC wouldn't control 122 cities. It's ridiculous. I mean, these political parties are just, I'm so tired of them.
Well, but Chris,
yeah.
Let's be honest here. There is a political realignment happening in South Africa where it doesn't actually matter who you vote for as long as it's not the ANC or the EFF. Late last year, just before everyone left work, there was an agreement posted online by the DA, Freedom Front Plus, Action SA, ACTP, and all sorts of other opposition parties who have agreed to work together in certain key municipalities where they can. But then they will have oversight committees, they'll have all sorts of other institutions to make sure that everything is working correctly under this coalition agreement. So if for example, if you really don't like the vaccine or vaccine mandates, you can vote ACDP and you should be able to do so. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You don't have to love the DA, but you can just love the ACDP. But if the ACDP has an agreement with Freedom Plus and with the DA and Action, whatever they're called, South Africa and all the rest of it, you're still voting for the opposition bloc. which may or may not win the 2024 national election. So ironically, the DA with 20% of the vote could have like the presidency at the union buildings, like President John Steenhuisen. Whether it's him or not, I don't know. And then you could have a minister of finance that's from the Freedom Front Plus. So you could have a minister of state security from Action South Africa, or whatever the case might be. So for the next election, I want everyone to be keenly aware. Vote for whoever the hell you want. I think the DA will stop with the small party is a wasted vote nonsense, because they actually need those small parties right now. And you can build up this great opposition bloc rather, to take over in 2024 in a true sort of government of unity, because there's going to be opposition parties in a grand coalition taking over the country come 2024. I do understand there's a lot of work being done to make that a reality come 2024, and I think it is something that can materialize depending on a few things going in the favor of this theory. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Roman, this is where we disagree a bit. I'm much more sanguine about this. I thought that the most consequential election in South Africa's post-apartheid history, because 1948 was arguably one of the most consequential elections in South Africa's history, because that's what started the path of apartheid. But this election in 2021 was the chance. This was the golden opportunity. If you can't defeat the ANC, if you can't take control of metropolitan areas where sewage is running raw on the streets of Nelson Mandela Bay, and there's no water, and rubbish isn't removed, and crime is out of control, and there's no electricity, and the list goes on and on and on. And we see one scandal after another when these ghouls steal money that's meant to help people overcome this pandemic nonsense. You know, if you cannot defeat them with all the negative press, with all the failures, with the 3 million lost jobs, with the hundreds of thousands of collapsed businesses, if you can't defeat them, then there's something wrong with the opposition. And there was something wrong with the opposition. Number one, I'll pick on the DA to start with, and that is that the DA's approach was completely wrong. I said this throughout the campaign. They focused on the DA gets things done. Well, that's fine. It works in Mid-Val. I'll accept that. But it doesn't work so well in the Cape Flats. The DA has controlled that area for years, and it's a disaster. Not entirely of their own making, but the point is that you open yourself up to criticism, and they got a lot of criticism for the DA gets things done. They should have not learned the wrong lesson from 2019. The wrong lesson they learned from 2019 is that you can't attack the ANC because people won't vote for you. That's nonsense. You don't have to attack the ANC. All you have to do is put ads up and, list 3 million jobless. Proudly brought to you by Latuli House. Things like that. That approach. That's all you have to do. They should have had a two-pronged approach. That's the start. And then this foolish decision, two own goals. Don't vote for small parties. It's a waste. That comes across as arrogant to voters. That was the dumbest thing ever. I mean, it was so stupid. Someone needs to be sacked over that. And then this own goal with these posters in Phoenix. That was just stupid. That didn't help at all. I don't know that had a major impact, but it certainly gave fuel to people who might have been on the fence about the DA. And, but anyway, but the opposition parties couldn't do it. There's only one opposition party that accomplished anything in this election of note, and that's Freedom Front Plus, who went from 67 seats they won in 2016 to 230. Unbelievable performance, and they almost tripled their amount of actual votes. So that's the only party. The IFP did much better, but that's because the ANC cratered. The IFP gained 2% more votes, so they kept their base, and then they took over more metros because the ANC cratered. The EFF actually lost a few percent of their vote, but they only lost 23,000 votes. So they were steady state, which I've said the EFF is near a plateau anyway. They're never going to get above 15%. There aren't that many stupid people in South Africa, trust me. There's a lot, but not that many. So anyway, so my point is that the opposition parties really screwed this thing. And 2021 was the chance. And here's why I say, I know I'm talking a little bit long, but let me finish this thought up. Oh, it's my show. I can do what I want to. No, but seriously. Here's the thing. 2021 was an important date because I don't know if South Africans can survive to 2024. This is quite frightening. I mean, a lot of people are desperate. I mean, I have like the most poverty-stricken audience on the planet here. I mean, my viewers, so many have lost their business and their jobs because of this nonsense. And I don't know if a lot of people can actually make it that far. And this was the chance because at the national level, it's all, lovely, policy, this, that, and the other. But at the local level, you can see every day success or failure by your municipal authorities, whether trash is removed, whether potholes are repaired, whether city workers are polite and responsive, whether you can apply for a license, you can do this, yada, yada. That's where the rubber hits the road. And you can prove and show every day. Go on the radio. Hey, listen, this week we improved service delivery in this part of town. Now people have running water for the first time in 6 months since we've taken, yada, yada, yada. Now, in a coalition, I wrote an article for your site, Morning Shot, which you published, and it goes along this line. But in a coalition, you know, you can form these coalitions, and as I termed this was the G6 because it's six parties for this opposition, the group of six, and you can do it. And some parties have come out really well. Other party, like the ACDP, has nothing to lose by joining this because their followers are devout, and the party isn't growing much. So being part of this, they can point to successes the coalition has, and they might gain a few seats. But some of the other parties that want to get bigger, it's going to how are you going to say you did something well? Well, I was part of a coalition that accomplished this in Joburg. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot for that. Anyway, there's been a lot of talk for 2 years now that coalitions is a future South Africa. And my point on that has always been that at the national level in the parliament, sure, I'll buy that. At the national level, I'll buy a coalition. It can work. But at the municipal level, they just fall apart. Ego, attention, and then dishonest politicians, all those things come into play. We look no further than the coalitions we saw in Joburg and in Tshwane, and we saw in Nelson Mandela Bay, especially Nelson Mandela Bay in the last election cycle. So I'm not strong on coalitions. I don't think they're a solution. I think at the national level possible, and I agree with you. 2024, if the vote were held today, the ANC is dead. They're out. They're out. They I don't even know they'll be able to form a coalition without Cyril Ramaphosa. I don't see him at 40%. I see him at 33% of the vote without Cyril Ramaphosa. That's where I see them. Now, that might be over the top, and I'm embellishing a bit, but I don't think it's that much. I'm actually astounded that the ANC was able to get 5.4 million votes in this election after an insurrection. I mean, there was an insurrection inside the ANC. Anyway, I'll stop there and let you respond.
Well, I think there's a few things. I think the 2016 coalitions were stepping stones and learning opportunities more than things set in stone. The DA, just because it's the greatest opposition party, says, we learned our lesson. We learned our lesson in terms of we do not go into coalitions with people who don't reflect our values and principles. I'm not saying the ACDP, Freedom Front Plus, and all the rest of them reflect the DA's principles accurately, but pragmatically, they're all sort of on the same foundation. They're all relatively non-racist. They're all fairly pragmatic. And to me, at least, it appears that they sort of want South Africa to work, in whatever sense you may take that. So I think 2016 was an important learning opportunity to set up 2021 and to set up 2024. Listen, is a coalition going to be like, rainbows and unicorns and utopia? Absolutely not. I think it's going to crumble, then rise again, then there's going to be this party out and this party out and this one in and this one out. I don't care. We're not expecting stability for at least a decade in this country. I'm certainly not expecting stability in this decade at all in this country. But hopefully it arrests the decline in some sense. And just lastly, is there a last point? No, not really. Lastly, when you say the opposition has, no real, they should have done much better. I understand about the messaging. I understand how things were done, especially at the DA level. At what stage, Chris, do we say, listen, voters, you moan about all this stuff, and then you still sort of vote for the same people. Look at all the. I go on Twitter, and people are like, look at the sewage system in Mahikeng or wherever, right. Some shit all place. Excuse my language. And you look at voting patterns, and it's overwhelmingly ANC. At some sense, how can political messaging break through the cult of ANC propaganda? Because it's really, really strong in the minds of a minority of people, but those people just go out and vote and fundamentally change the future of this country, irrespective of the reality on the ground, irrespective of what is happening at a policy level, irrespective of anyone else. It's a cult. And I don't know how we get rid of that cult through political messaging at the end of the day.
No, 100%. I agree with you. You're spot on. I mean, people get what they vote for or what they don't vote for, and that's the bottom line here. But I mean, the part of this argument that if it had been different, I would accept the issue that the cult, but put two things about the cult that I think throw it into question. There'll always be that there. I mean, look, we have people who think Joe Biden is competent. I mean, the guy has dementia. I mean, he doesn't even want to change his nappies. It's crazy. But seriously, okay, so the ANC went from over 8 million votes to 5.4 million. That's huge. That's 32%. So 1/3 of their voters didn't turn out. And the population is larger. The eligible population is larger. 13% of eligible South Africans didn't go. So the ANC can be whittled down. The ANC, it's not all cult. Some people will either not vote or they'll vote another option like Action SA or certainly not more went to the DA because we saw the results. But the DA lost 1.5 million votes from 2016. There's a problem there. There's something wrong that they did wrong. And, you're right about people just bitching and complaining and not doing things. But this starts with what I said in 2020. You run a political party. Now, in full disclosure, you were in politics. You helped our founder of the Purple Cow Party a few years ago. But, you have to do retail politics. You don't rock up 90 days before an election and say, vote for us. This is our platform. That's nonsense. That's total bullshit. Politics has to be done every day, 365 days a year, 7 days a week. And you do it by getting out in your community, having activist people. I hate that term. It sounds leftist, but activist people in your party who are meeting people in the neighborhood, talking about issues, talking about politics all the time, bringing people to your standard. And once the lockdown was eased in June of 2020, that's what people need to do. That's the advice I gave the opposition parties, and virtually none of them did it. They all sat around. A lot of them, I think, including like Bantu Holamisa's party, hoping that the election would be delayed, until this coming year. And so, I think there's a lot of blame there. I agree with your point that the apathetic voter and then the voter who votes for the party that gives them raw sewage deserves what they get. But there's something clearly wrong in the DA going from 4 million votes to 2.5 million, and nobody's talking about that. That's disturbing.
Well, if you speak to the DA, they said, well, they learned from the mistakes under Musi Mamane, where they were becoming ANC light. And let's be honest, John Steenhuisen has come in. When was he appointed? Like November of 2020, officially, as the leader. And he had a year to get to the elections, and then there was still all the state of disaster and all the COVID stuff. I mean, listen, I don't want to make excuses for the guy. I've got a few issues with him, but
to be fair, I'm not also.
It was a baptism of fire.
I'm not attacking.
It was a real baptism of fire.
I'm not attacking the DA. I don't want it to come across that way because it's probably the best hope for South Africa, to be honest. But I'm not attacking the DA. I'm just saying that their strategy was flawed, and I pointed it out from the get-go, and it frustrates me to no end that they had the strategy. The other thing too is, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the other thing too is that the only face that I saw, now I'm not on the ground in South Africa, so I can only see it from the media and from people sharing with me anecdotally and seeing images. The only face I saw for the DA in most of the country in what is essentially a host of a bunch of local elections was John Steenhuisen. The exception is Nelson Mandela Bay, where Helen Zille went big guns and they still lost Nelson Mandela Bay. That's disturbing. I mean, if you can't win an election when you have a rock star like Helen Zille campaigning for you on the ground locally, that's concerning. So why didn't we see Chris Pappas? I found out who he was all on my own. A party never talked about him outside. I mean, this guy did amazing things there, and why we did see more of that. Anyway, and then anyway, Kerhalini, the candidate there, they did nothing to promote her, and she's a rock star too. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, Tanya. Well, I mean, but look, okay, was it a terrible election for the DA? Because think about it, they got 3 or 4 of the major metros. Through coalition, and the EFF are sneaky, and I don't trust them at all. But I think the DA were as surprised as the rest of us when they got Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, and another one. For the life of me, I can't actually remember which one it was. And they missed Durban by.
Yeah. Well, they missed Durban by an 11th hour change of mind.
11th hour bribe, let's be honest.
Okay, okay. If you want to be truthful, there you go. That's the bottom line. 11th hour bribe.
I mean, the council was set to vote, and then all of a sudden the power goes off. Oh no, we'll just postpone it till tomorrow. And then tomorrow they come back, and then this guy changed his mind. Yeah. Some random small chap who won one ward somewhere, and all of a sudden he's got, you're right, he's brand new Mercedes. Anyway, but I mean. I don't know how long these coalitions will last, especially with the EFF, because they're fickle. But the DA is in a very strong position to actually stamp down its authority, but also have a vested interest in ensuring the other smaller parties are as invested as they are, because they're all in this together. And I think, maybe I'm being utopian, the hatred for the ANC will trump the skirmishes from within.
Well, that's a great hope, and I would love to see that. And that's how the G6 comes across, as it's anything but the ANC will work together. And that'd be nice. But I think egos, like Herman Shaba's ego, are going to get in the way. I think there's some other issues here. And we already saw...
I have an answer to that.
Okay, before you get to that, they've already lost Joburg. Hasn't Al Jamaya already pulled out of the voting with the opposition, which leaves them short by 3 votes?
Or they're short by 1 vote, I believe. But I think Herman Shaba has a definite ego, big problem. Two rays of sunshine. Number one, Makosi Khoza left the party, which is fantastic because she's absolutely nuts, complete nutcase. Number 2, the DA and Action in South Africa are funded by the same people. And the funders will tell Herman, behave yourself. Because this is, remember, the Oppenheimers fund everything here. They funded Cyril, they funded the ANC for the longest time. Now they've pulled their funding. That's why the ANC can't afford salaries and the corruption sort of ended. And now they are funding Action SA and the DA together. For what reason? Well, to make sure that those two sort of work together. And if they don't work together, the threat to pull funding is very, very high. They give equal amounts to both parties. And I think the funders will make sure that that coalition will last as long as the funding is around. That's my view.
What I find interesting about this is that you're talking about funding, but the amount of funding we're talking about, we see at least the public disclosure, unless people are hiding money. Public disclosure by the the Capture Electoral Commission that came out shows how much money, and the DA got far more money than the ANC from some donors, but we're talking about chicken scratch. I mean, this isn't real money.
Yeah,
we're talking a few million,
it's nothing.
A few $1 million, not a few tens of millions of dollars. And meanwhile, we got presidential candidates spending $1 billion on an election on this side of the Atlantic. So, it doesn't take a lot of money apparently to influence elections if that's the key behind it. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, and funny enough, the same people who fund the DA and the Action SA, they gave R1 billion to the Solidarity Fund when COVID hit. So, I mean, why, if they gave R1 billion to the DA and Action South Africa, I mean, they would have won the fucking election. Sorry, they would have won the election, like hands down. Why are they giving this chicken feed when they can afford to give R1 billion, like, without any attachments to the Solidarity Fund? And all the Solidarity Fund does is like tweet about wearing your mask in public and crap like that. Like, no one actually cares. But that annoys me. That it's almost like there is a concerted effort to keep the opposition small.
No, I'm with you 100%. But the thing is that gets me is that the shenanigans that took place in the midst of the election too. And of course we know there'll be no prosecution. Joe Malema bribes a chief. Gives him a Mercedes, and of course the guy's a convicted criminal. We know that, but he bribes him and says all my folks should vote for the EFF. I mean, what? Seriously? And then no one, it's no big deal. People just expect it to happen. So.
Well, and they still lost the war, as far as I understand. So
yeah, they did.
Didn't do too much.
Yeah, no, they actually did. No, I would say, listen, okay, because it sounds like I'm very down on the DA, but let's be honest. Yeah, people predicted they were going to get crushed in Cape Town. The colored vote would abandon them in Cape Town. That they're going to lose. I said that's not going to happen. I mean, they're not going to go below 60%, and they didn't. They stayed in control in Cape Town. What is disappointing though in the Western Cape is they lost control of a lot of municipalities they shouldn't have lost control of. Very, very frustrating situation in Western Cape, I should think, for the DA. But Umgeni was a big surprise for Chris Pappas and the party. They did very well there, and they did well. I think they did well in Ekurhuleni. It's just they didn't do well enough. Shwane, they're pretty much the same. But the one other big disappointment here is Nelson Mandela Bay. I mean, they were within striking distance, and they've owned goal. They went from 45% of the vote to barely 40%, and they've lost control. And now people in Nelson Mandela Bay are going to suffer. When can we blame Ronaldo host's live streams for this? Because I think he's the real culprit. He's the real culprit in all this. Do it right now. I mean, just put it out there. I blame Ronaldo host. I mean, ever since he started live streaming daily, DA supporters, dropped down in Nelson Mandela Bay. There is a correlation. I'm not saying it's completely accurate, but there is a correlation, and no one holds into account. To be fair, disgraceful. To be fair, I have heard that people are a little happier with the DA the last couple of weeks, and Ronaldo's only been streaming a couple of days a week. There might be a correlation there. as I've been saying. Yikes! Yeah. Well, look, I won't ever diss Ronaldo because he and one member of Adrian Roos from Gauteng are the only DA members I can ever get on my channel. Helen promised in a conversation last year in May to come on my channel. I didn't even elicit that. I've been trying to reach her, but I knew I was going through middlemen, and because everyone's got handlers, and I figured she never got the message when my channel, before it got censored, the original channel. And then I was invited to a private conversation about some issues last year, and Helen was there. I didn't even know she was. I didn't know she was coming, and someone was mentioning who I was because some people didn't know who I was, and I said, yeah, no, I've been trying to talk to folks at DI. I've been writing to Helen Zilla for some time and trying to get on the channel, but I think I'm going through handlers, and she hasn't got the message. And then she's like, oh, Chris, yes, hi, Chris. I would be pleased to come on your channel anytime. Just let me know. I'm happy to come on there. And I said, well, Helen, I didn't realize you knew who I was. Oh, I know very well who you are, Chris. I'm happy to come on your channel. That was May. It's almost February. And anyway, needless to say. Anyway, getting the DA to speak is a challenge.
But also with the DA sort of losing a few places in the Western Cape, isn't this? I'm thinking about it. I'm looking at the world sort of globally. You tend to see the DA losing power to sort of ethno-nationalist parties like the Cape Color Congress and the Khoi whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Isn't that what's happening sort of globally? Like people are losing faith in like the democratic system, so they're going back to what they know, which is maybe like ethnicity or race or a shared history or something like that. And we're seeing the effects of that in South Africa. Do you think that's a fair thing to say, or is the DA just rubbish and people just want something else?
Okay, no, I think it's a fair thing to say, but and I don't think the DA is rubbish, but I just don't think the approach is strong. And by the way, I think John Steenhuisen is the right guy to lead that party. I think he's done, in my view, a bang-up job. I'm just disappointed in outcomes. And the problem is that I saw the outcomes coming. I don't know if they saw them. They seemed surprised by some of the outcomes. The only surprise for me is that they lost control of places in the Western Cape. That caught me off guard. I didn't expect it, and it wasn't because coloreds didn't vote for them. They lost places where they lost support. It did go to some of these new parties, but it went other places. EFF actually gained some votes in some of these municipalities in Western Cape, which kind of surprised me a little bit. So that was the disappointment, and there were a couple nice surprises. Chris Pappas was a good one, and then. The thing that was very gratifying for me to see that only 13% of eligible voters voted for the ANC. That was gratifying.
Yeah, I mean, one day I need to phone John Steenhuisen and say, listen, John, pay me a lot of money. What you need to do, and this is my pitch to him if I ever do see him again. My pitch to you is, John, every single mayor that you have currently, or every single person in a position of influence, you need to do at least 2 or 3 vlogs a week on this person. You just hire a videographer to follow them everywhere, in meetings, on the streets, on the way to meetings, when they wake up in the morning, when they go to gym, whether it be Chris Pappas or Mpopalatse or what's his name from Tshwane, Abrams, I forgot his name, sorry. Yeah. The mayor of Ekurhuleni, just have a videographer. It doesn't cost a lot of money. It costs maybe 15, 20, 25,000 rand a month. Have them vlog absolutely everything.
Yep.
Make them edit videos about who these people are, what they do, what they get up to every day, what's a council meeting look like, what does a budget look like, and all the rest of it, and create different channels for all of them, social media, Facebook pages and YouTube videos and YouTube channels, TikTok and whatever you want, and just pay someone just to film, edit, and upload all the stuff every single day. Every single person in position of power in the DA should have at least 10 pieces of content a day coming out of their office. And they don't even have to partake in it. They just carry on with their lives. They look at the camera once in a while, hey, now we're doing this, now we're doing that. This is the hardest part of the job, or this is easy, or whatever the case might be. And let the people who you hire to record and just make them edit it and let them run it like a real campaign. Like, we need American politics in this country where individuals count. You work for the same party, but the individuals of that party are the brand, not just the party itself and not just the leader itself.
Yeah, she's spot on. And Roman, you're stealing my thunder, brother. That's what I've been talking about since 2020. That's exactly what I said to do. Get out there, do that, and you've got to promote the rising stars, the talent. I mean, the candidate that was for Ekurhuleni is unbelievably talented, a brilliant woman, and most people don't even know her name. She should have been known nationally. This should have been, even though she's running locally, should have been known nationally. Chris Pappas, how he was not, was not on. This is just insane. It's. Here's the thing of what you're talking about. If you do this, people that don't know politics, people that don't vote, become invested in who that person is because they learn about them. It's like the Kardashian effect is what it is. I mean, it's exactly what it is. And they're really missing the boat here. I mean, look at these empty shells here in America. I mean, Kamala Harris, people voted for her. I mean, seriously. They're hoodwinked by media and by cameras and speeches.
Hold on. Okay, Chris, no one voted for Kamala Harris, let's be honest.
Okay, sorry. Okay, yeah, they voted for Joe. Go Joe.
Apparently. Okay, anyway, enough about that. I'll let you get struck. But yeah, I just don't understand. I mean, if the Oppenheimers gave me 15 million rand a year or a quarter, or whatever the hell it is, I would spend all that money on just marketing the people in the damn organization. Who cares about like policy documents and crap? Like, no one cares about those things. Just create nice, sexy content with people whose faces makes people want to be interested in them. Like Chris Pappas should have a daily vlog every single day, speaking Zulu, speaking to the auntie, speaking to the gogo, speaking to the Indian, speaking to the opposition, anything from the day he wakes up, from the time he wakes up to the time he goes to bed. What does he do? What's his gym routine? How does he like his coffee? How does he speak to people generally? How does he dress himself every day? Like, we need these people to become the Casey Neistats of South Africa, like real vloggers. And I just don't know why that isn't the case. It just boggled my mind. But no, we have adverts with like black people waving flags and talking about like the Rainbow Nation. Like,
and
that's just
completely missing the point. They are completely missing the boat here. They think if you just get the right virtue signaling up there, that's the answer. I mean, outside the parliament, this is a criticism. This is a genuine criticism. I'm actually criticizing DA. Outside the parliament, after the fire, there's John Steenhuisen. We got Natasha Mazzone there. We've got a colored woman, and I'm trying to remember if there's another white woman or a black one. I can't remember, but it was all women with John Steenhuisen. So we've met that demographic. We've got colors. We've got whites out there. That's Cape Town. I don't even know who two of those people are. Of course, I know who Natasha Mazzone is, and I know who John Steenhuisen is. And they're out there talking about this. And then, so that's the first problem I have with it. They're just window dressing. That's what that was, because the other people didn't speak. It was just him. And then the other problem I have with this is that it was clear. Natasha Mazzone the day before is on radio, on television, crowing about, oh, this is such an important building. I've spent 12 years here. You spent 12 years here, and it's been 6.5 years since there's been a head of security at the parliament, and you never brought that to the attention of the country or to anybody? Come on. That's just nonsense. That's just virtue signaling. And parties got to stop doing that stuff. They got to stop doing that stuff, because that doesn't help the cause, because it just makes people cynical. And it's really ridiculous. But as far as the social media thing, I was hoodwinked by the DA, Roman. I thought they figured it out. I thought when they came out with Early B song, I'm like, yeah, they got it now. Okay, now you take this, you pimp this song everywhere, you're in the neighborhoods, and you take this and because I go onto the DA's Facebook page, I go onto their YouTube channel. With 5,000 subscribers, I have more views on my videos than they do on YouTube. On Facebook, they have 500,000 people on their page, and I look and there's like 200 reactions to stuff. They're doing it wrong, and they should sack their public relations people.
Absolutely. All they're doing is having talk shops. They've got this awful studio where they are. Instead of having like a Joe Rogan studio where people can talk across the table, not next to each other, looking like this to each other, and the camera's in front. And it's all wrapped in DA. And then the song comes on and it's like some African music and like kumbaya. Like, it's all just crap, man. It's all bullshit. It's like, just hire me, DA. I'll charge you as much as Oppenheimer gives you, so it's not even your money, and we can really make something nice.
Well, I'm a cheap date. I offered my election consultant services a long time ago, but they weren't interested. But hey, speaking of elections, I don't know. Do you know this? I actually played a role in changing the outcome of an election in South Africa this year. Did you know that?
You did?
I did. Yep. I'll tell you the story real quick.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So there's a small party called the Forum for Democrats in Northwest Province. It's a local party, and they formed because they're tired of the nonsense, and so they formed up for this election. They intend to try to stay longer, but I mean, a really small grassroots party. And so they ran for election, and then after the election, they didn't win anything. They didn't get a whole lot of votes. They didn't win. So, okay, no big deal. I never heard of them. There's so many there's 325 parties. I couldn't know all of them. And somebody asked me to get this election analyst on, this guy, Michael Atkins, who does election. He's an independent guy, not a party affiliated with any parties. And he looks at election, and he analyzed all these elections, and he found a number of anomalies from this election. So Michael Atkins, I had him on the program, and he talked about and he explained about how some things just don't jive. And it was a very good conversation, very interesting. And he mentioned that there was a party in Northwest that should have gotten a seat that was awarded to the EFF. So I said, when we got off camera, I said, listen, can you put me in touch with them? He did. And I said, listen, I'd like to give you an interview. We don't have to talk about the fact that you're having an ongoing dispute with the IEC. Anyway, so I had them on, and this is what happened. So there was a tabulating error. We'll assume it was a tabulating error. I don't have any reason to doubt that. But in one ward on the second round proportional representation, the EFF was awarded 190 some votes more than they should have gotten. And so they wound up getting the proportional seat that should have gone to this party because they wanted. What happened is Michael Atkins wrote to the IEC about 6 or 7 days after the election, and they blew him off. They ignored him. They didn't answer him. He informed this party. They have an attorney. They're small, but someone in the family is an attorney, so they help. So they got together. They wrote to the IEC. The IEC wrote back to them a perfunctory, get stuff, foot sec response. You missed the window. You had 48 hours to respond from the election. Here's the problem with that. They hadn't even announced the results 48 hours for much of the country after the election. How can you respond? How can you analyze? You can't. Besides, this error is something only a statistician or a data analysis person would have found. It wouldn't have been you or I, a layperson, wouldn't have seen this error. You had to go through reams of paper and data to find this. Anyway, so the bottom line is that it was at least a mistake. So that party should have gotten a seat. So they were blown off. So I had him on, and we talked about it towards the end. He said, well, we've got a letter in. We got a response back, and they've told us that it's too late. And I said, well, that shouldn't be the end of it, because the people voted, and you won that seat. That's your system. I don't agree with your proportional representation, but that's my personal issue with South Africa's elections. That's your system. You should have a seat. And so we got off camera, and I said, I'm no promises. I'm going to do something. So I got in touch with an attorney I know in South Africa who got me in touch with another attorney. And he said, yeah, there's something here. Let me get you in touch with a new civic group. And they're working, it's a new group working on civil issues and rights. And so they agreed to take it on as their first case. This attorney's organization representing that group wrote to the IEC. And within a couple of days, they said, you are correct. There was an error. The Forum for Democrats should have gotten a seat. However, it was awarded to the EFF. We have to notify them, give them 48 hours to respond. Apparently, the EFF didn't respond, or whatever. And so the seat has been awarded to the Forum for Democrats in Zeerust. So they haven't been seated yet. They're still sorting it out, but they won a seat legitimately, and we've changed the outcome to what it should have been and corrected it. But my point here is not to boast about what I did, but just how callous and unaccepting the IEC is, unless you're a major political party like the DA, the ANC, the EFF. If you don't have those kind of resources, they're just going to blow you off. And that's not true, genuine representative government, because this party was defrauded out of a seat through an error. And the IEC, who's responsible, the Independent Electoral Commission, blew them off when all it took was about an hour of their time to correct this thing. Anyway, so that's the case. So a party got a seat, first time ever.
Excellent news. No, well done. I mean, I also follow. I used to follow Michael Atkins, and there were a lot of errors. He picked up a hell of a lot. I don't know how if he managed to sort of resolve them in some way or give those resources to someone who could. But I don't particularly like the IEC, and I don't really trust the results, if I'm completely honest. Maybe in the broad sense, I trust the results, but in the nitty-gritty stuff, not in the slightest.
No, absolutely. And that's the thing. So, in the build up to the municipal elections, which for me was June 2020 is when I was paying attention to it and urging people to get out. In the build up to it, I said, this is why it's important. So few people show up for municipal elections that every vote counts. And in this case, every vote counted. And that tabulating error cost them. I mean, look, that party, I think they got maybe 1,000 votes, if that total, in the Zeerust area, which is not much, but that doesn't matter. In the system you have, they won a seat legitimately. They should have gotten. And the IEC should not be able to blow off these 321 parties that aren't major parties because they're legitimate. They're registered. They've got candidates. They're part of the election process. And if people vote for them and that's your system, they should get the seat. But the IEC didn't want to hear it. They thought they'd get away with it until attorneys got involved. And you're an attorney. Once attorneys get involved, people start paying attention. And that's kind of a sad commentary. It's the same thing on this side of the Atlantic. If I started my own party, I'd get blown off unless I got attorneys involved. It's really, really frustrating.
Oh, welcome to democracy. I think we should actually get rid of it altogether. I'm becoming extremely, not just undemocratic, sort of anti-democratic as I age. I just think it's a bit of a waste of time.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the broadcast with Jeremy Nell today. It's germ warfare here on Chris Wyatt Africa.
I actually have good reasons for my thoughts.
Well, for years, people asked me, said, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" They asked that, facetiously, but seriously. You can't be facetious and serious. You're being facetious about it, but you're asking a serious question. People asked me what I want to do, what I was going to do after the army, and I said, "Well, I've always wanted to be a benign dictator of a small African country, and Lesotho and Swaziland are at the top of my list." And I say that jokingly, but hey, make me a dictator of a country, and I'll bring people liberty, freedom, and then I'll walk off the stage after 10 years.
So I agree with the dictator part, but I won't be benign.
So you're going to be malignant.
Sometimes
you're going to be malignant.
And very belligerent, depending on who, though. I would ban free press just because they're not free. I would ban all foreign-funded NGOs. Basically, I'll be like little China in Africa in the real sense, but not communist.
Well, there's real advantages to my approach. First off, if I get Lesotho, I can lord water over South Africa from a position of authority. So I can keep you all thirsty and hungry and keep you begging for power for your hydroelectric dams. So that's number one. And I get seasons. I'm in the mountains, so I get the snow, so I can enjoy a proper seasonal change. Now, the advantage of Swaziland, or Eswatini as we call it these days, the e-commerce capital of Africa, Eswatini. The advantage of that is I get to participate in the reed dance every year. That'd be kind of fun.
Chris, you showing your age, my friend. A bit perverted. With all those allegations in America about Hollywood and all the rest of them, I think you should just be careful. You don't want your channel struck once again. But yeah, no, I mean, I think dictatorship is normal. I mean, I'll make it a monarchy. Maybe not absolutely. I don't know. When I get there, I'll see how I feel on the day.
All right. Well, listen, let's shift gears because John Jarvis has put a good comment in the chat there. I did say we're going to talk about plans for Morning Shot, which a lot of people who come over from Morning Shot, you've probably heard this already. I know I heard it because I watched the video. Be sure to smash the like button, folks. There's some freeloaders here. We got 114 people and only 96 likes. That's the only cost of admission. You reach down there, smash that button right below the video. You get this lovely sound.
That was easy.
There you go. And you become a subscriber just like that. It's pain-free. It only costs you a moment of your time. Anyway, but yeah, so let's shift gears a little bit, Roman, and talk about Morning Shot. Now, for those who don't know, you did Tea with Helen. That was something you did back in the day. That's the first time I ever heard of you, to be honest. I love Tea with Helen. It was too short-lived, unfortunately. It was a great idea. I really enjoyed it. But it was nice watching the Tony share thoughts with us. I really enjoyed the Tea with Helen. But you've with Morning Shot, you started this thing, and you've taken it a direction. Now I think you have big plans for 2022. And beyond that, you started publishing articles on your Morning Shot website, morningshot.co.za. And one of my viewers, Paulie, encouraged me to write for your site and said I should write for it. I contacted you and you said, yeah, happy to have you do it. And so I've been publishing, or you've been publishing my articles on there. So that's one outlet, but you also have your videos and stuff like that. But I got the impression that with Morning Shot, you might be creating specific programs and maybe having some other host or co-host on. Is that a direction you're going? Or can you tell us a little bit about what the plans are in 2022 for Morning Shot?
So I made a video about how much I earned on YouTube, how much YouTube paid me. Really, is trying to get like on the hacking a trend on YouTube where everyone says, "Oh, how much I got paid in 2021." And in that video, I said, and I think this is correct. The key to YouTube is not to rely on YouTube for money. It is to rely on your audience there to build other businesses off the platform, which are aligned to your YouTube channel. So actually, a large part of what we want to do, and by the way, right early on, you said my producer, that's my business partner, not a producer. Okay. All right. So my business partner and I, Byron, we are building businesses off of YouTube, but which is directly aligned to what we do on the channel. For example, we want to create a proper media company. That's going to take a lot of time. Hopefully, Rupert Murdoch is watching this thing and can give us a few $1 million to start that. So proper media, conservative media, correct media. Number two, build a business that will do what we do for Morning Shot, but for other people. So if you are watching, my idea about vlogging every single person of influence in your party is not just an idea. I can do that for you, as an example. Like that's what another part of the Morning Shot business is going to do. We're going to spin off, create a digital agency specifically to help those institutions that we love with their, not marketing per se, but with their strategy, with their communications, and most importantly with their video production and editing and all the rest of that. We do it on a daily basis for Morning Shot. We can export those skills for profit to other institutions who don't have those skills in-house. And number three, my role in all of this is to make sure that Morning Shot continues to grow as a channel. So the daily show will still be there. We're going to have other shows. So I got like a monthly show with X person who hasn't said yes yet, so I don't want to spoil it. And mainly just more and more content. We just have a broader strategy of what we want to do for the year, what type of content we want on the channel. So the daily show is going to be there forever and ever and ever, but we're not solely going to rely on that to grow the channel much bigger. We're going to have a lot of other stuff. So one of the ideas, of course, is to go to John Steenhuisen and say, listen, can we just follow you for a day and film the whole thing? So like the day in the life of the DA leader. So I fly down to Cape Town I get my videographer along. We film everything. I speak to John. I ask him questions about what's he doing now. We look at his office. We see how he works. We see how he thinks. Record for a day, edit that up, make a very nice video on it. Sure, people will click on it because it's quite interesting. Just to remove the facade of what it means to be a political party leader in South Africa in 2022. And just grow from there. So there is a strategy. There are businesses being built up around the channel, but the channel is not going to be neglected. We got a lot of ideas for more content on the channel itself, not just the daily news stuff.
No, that's great. So not necessarily adding different programs and different hosts. You're just going. You're using it as a platform for other parts of the business venture. really, essentially.
Indeed. I mean, we do want better programs and more hosts, but we just need to scale a bit more. So, for example, if you want to host a show on Morning Shot, you're more than welcome. We need to get at least 100, 200,000 subscribers to make that viable for you and for us. Yeah. Like with 35,000 or whatever we've got now, okay, you might get 10,000 subscribers, but it's a lot more effort. If we got 100,000 subscribers, we can sort of guarantee you 20,000 within a month, just by referring to you in our videos. So it's a scaling thing, first and foremost. But yes, we do want other people on here to give news analysis as well.
Well, that's interesting because when I started my channel, I started in 2006 or whenever that YouTube started. I had it for 17 years by the time they canceled it, but without a single complaint, by the way, until the last 90 days. But anyway, that channel, I didn't really use it for anything until I retired from active service, and then I wanted to use it as an adjunct for my consultancy to promote. So when I gave a speech or a presentation for business in Africa or here in the States or some kind of lecture, people could see what they're getting, from this consultant. Does this guy know what he's talking about? So that was the intent. And I had some serious, gigs booked with some good money there scheduled for April and May of 2020. But then the Rona hit and everything got canceled. And I'm like, well, I could sit around and get fat, and my brain could get turned into mush, or I could do something useful. So I decided to start making these videos, and I started making these short videos about Africa's strategic issues, the AU, Somalia, Nigeria, South Africa. And some people started coming to my channel and started growing slowly. And they're like, you should do live streams. And I wasn't sure if I should, and I tried it and it went over pretty well. So I started. So that was February of 2020, and did my first live stream in April. And then by the end of May, I was doing 2 shows per day. And then, but what happened from that is that I changed my focus, and I said, I'm going to use this as the media arm of my consultancy company, and I want to take it elsewhere. And the media arm wound up being international music promotion. As a consequence of what I was doing with South African artists, I'm now bringing Swiss yodeling groups to South Africa on concert tours. That just kind of spun off of it. The merch is kind of something everybody gets on. I don't really pay attention to merch. So I don't really consider that to be part of the business. But it's grown from that to I'm a regular radio host on a radio broadcast AM FM radio station in New Hampshire every Wednesday. So I do that as well. And then I also took that into one of my original loves, which is rugby. And I was already a journalist for rugby. I've been writing articles about rugby that have been published for several years, but now I've turned it into broadcast on rugby, and I'm not talking about when I sit here and do color commentary like YouTubers do. I do that on my channel, but I also go cover rugby events. And now the thing about what you're talking about scale is that last year, when my channel was blowing up, I'm saying late 2020, and I went, you and I were like within 500 subscribers. I almost caught you. and then I got slammed and it was taken away. I was always of the same view you are. You need 100K. 100K is enough because with 100K, that gives you the volume and brings enough viewing to your channel, which is self-fulfilling. It perpetuates. It's like inertia. You've got enough to go. With 100,000 subscribers, you're going to have people tuning into your channel, even if your quality suffers. It's just going to happen. But let's hope it doesn't. But the point is that with that, it also generates revenue. Now, I've never looked at YouTube as a way to make money. In fact, I was reticent to monetize my channel, but my viewers insisted. And after about 3 months of hemming and hawing, I finally did make it. And then once I made it monetized, I got why people wanted it, because the memberships, being part of it, being part of a community, that all makes sense. The super chats and all that's nice. But after YouTube takes their cut and the federal tax man takes his cut and the state tax man gets his cut, I don't get a whole lot from it. But it generates money. But the nice thing about that is that I poured that revenue back in when I was on the other channel and making some good money off of it. And I used it to finance travel. So I travel around for rugby, I travel around for other things, and I made that part of the content. And some of the things I want to do is like if I had that volume, that subscriber base, it allows me to build from that. So I agree with you. That's the key, is you got to have it. And 30,000 or 5,000 isn't enough to get where you need to go. And that's why a lot of people offer to work for me, volunteer to do stuff, to help me do things. And I'm reticent to do that because I don't want to have to fire somebody I'm not paying if they don't perform. You know what I'm saying? but I'm also, if I had 100,000 or $250,000 or something like that, like right now, I try to contact some of these YouTubers in the States, like, would you like to come on my show? And I get help put through a booking agent. Are you serious? You're a freaking YouTuber. You're not even a real journalist. I mean, you're just an interesting person. And they're all booking agents. I'm not talking about having booking agents, but my point is that have people that work for you that help you produce this, and then you can focus on other things. Because right now, you know how it is. You got to focus on building the banners, setting up the links, loading this thing, editing, you do all of it. You're doing everything. You're a videographer. You're a strategic planner. You're a radio personality. You're on air. It's a lot of work, and with a small base, it's a real challenge. You need a bigger base.
So I mean, thankfully, I don't rely on YouTube for a living. I make a living off the channel through legal consultancy mostly. So all the money from YouTube goes to actually paying people who help me on YouTube. So I got a full-time editor, for example, who has say my bacon so many times. I can film the video in an hour.
Yeah.
The editing takes 2-3 hours. If I can pay someone a lot of money to get rid of that pain, I know the video will be out. And I also got a few other people on contracts, depending on what they do for getting advertisers or updating the website or whatever the case might be. But sooner or later, I would want to have all these people in-house and working for Morning Shot, and to make sure that we can morning shot other people's business or institution or organization, because I think it's a valuable skill to be able to show the world what you're working on. In South Africa, we're obsessed with results. My favorite example is Solidarity's university. It didn't exist, and the next day, excuse me, it exists. And you're like, where's the story? There is no story. It just materialized out of thin air. We sort of knew it was being built, but there was no videos about it. There was no posts. There was no photos. There was no idea how it was done. There was no planning shown to the public. And you get a far more invested audience if you show what you are doing. You don't just show the final result. No one cares about the final result. Show us how you did this. Let this be an example to others. Maybe people will become much more invested in the story of building this university campus through 10 Rand donations. I mean, that is the story, not the result. The ending of the movie, we don't really care. It's what leads us up to the ending that's the most important. And I find a lot of organizations and institutions in South Africa care really about the results. So we know, for example, AfriForum wins a court case, or AfriForum, this happened. But what about the process before it happening, right? Hedy now, I would have someone film him every single day, how that guy does his work. It's very interesting content. So hopefully what we can do as Morning Shot is to show what you are working on, because that's what we do. People see me working on my channel all the time. Go back to my first video compared to now, it's a complete 180. The evolution is immense, even if I say so myself. But we can do that for other people. We learned it over 2 years. We can do it for you for a fee.
No, it's brilliant. It's and I agree with you. The two comments about that. I find it frustrating. When I go out, I just did a video recently of the Yellow Breeches Creek, which is a top fly fishing location. I went out to show that at sunset because that's of interest to people, and it's frustrating because it's just me. It would have been nice to have someone there that could have filmed me getting out of the car, getting my kid out of the trunk. That makes things human. People really like that. It really adds nice things to a video, and I lack that. I mean, I can't set the camera up, and I could, but it would take so much time to do it. So I get where you're coming on that. But I watched a documentary about the removal of Indian children from Carlisle Barracks, where I worked at the Army War College. We had the Carlisle Industrial School there for Indians for 39 years, and over 230 of the 10,000 children died at some point when they were there from tuberculosis or whatever. And so they're buried there. And the Northern Arapaho were upset that we need our children back. They need to come to us, despite the fact that the cemetery is maintained by the U.S. Army. It's really a reverent spot, well marked and well respected. But they wanted their children back. So the public broadcasting system paid someone to make a video. And while I watched the video, and it was so incredibly distorted. Now, don't get me wrong. Taking children away from Native Americans and sending them to make them white men was morally wrong, and it was racist, and I object to it, and I've always objected to it. But this video was full of so much nonsense and one-sided idiocy. A woman's complaining about the U.S. Army. They stonewalled us and kept us from doing things. They had ridiculous requirements. Well, one of the requirements was they said, we would like to keep the children here, but if you'd like to get them remains back, we need the following information. We need to know, are you related to the person? How? What's your descent? This, that, and the other. And the woman's like, that's unreasonable. Well, okay, great. Well, I'm an Arapaho. I want the remains. Come on, it's not unreasonable. So it was very one-sided in so many aspects, and it was really frustrating. But nonetheless, it was so well filmed. The cinematography was so good. The way they did the story, the way they told the story, the way they got them getting on buses, and they brought young kids from the Northern Arapaho to be their representatives, and they brought the elder with them to come repatriate these remains to Wyoming. It was, despite the fact I just want to get up and choke the producer about how this one-sided political narrative is going, I was compelled to watch it, and I watched it all the way to the end. Now, I quickly deleted off my DVR afterwards, but the point is that you're right. That's exactly what needs to be done, and it takes resources to do that, and it really makes compelling things. So when I get to Cape Town, I'm linking up with the Pet Zoo film crew. We've already discussed this, and we're going to do some documentary stuff when I get to Cape Town.
Pet Zoo film crew, I know you're watching a very underrated person. Like he in the early days, he sent me like lots of unsolicited advice.
Same here,
but good advice.
Then he went quiet.
That's true. I know he or she's watching. I still don't know who exactly it is, but yes, highly rated. So hopefully, Pet Zoo Film Crew, we can work together one of these days. Maybe you can edit Jordan Hill Lewis's vlog when I, film by morning shot. Well, that could be an idea.
That's two that are begging to be made. Jordan Hill Lewis and Chris Pappas, especially Chris Pappas.
Absolutely.
I mean, can you imagine if people in KZN didn't just automatically affiliate with being IFP because they're Zulu? If they saw something and they could see this person go, hey, wait, this young, Viking neo-Nazi looking kind of guy is out looking out for our interests. He's working hard for us in Umgeni.
He's got a Greek surname. He sounds like the Zulu king when he speaks Zulu, and he looks like Harry Potter. What more do you want? What more do you want? This guy's fantastic.
He's got it all. Anyway, so it's pretty crazy. No, it's an interesting approach for it. So Corona's boring. Do the alien thing. Says don't rely on Silicon Valley for money for your channel. We're changing over to the Internet 2.0. Well, we're already past the Internet 2.0. That was 1996. The crapper net is only double good speak is allowed. That's true. My self-censorship on this platform has been very disheartening. A lot of videos I make, I simply put in Odyssey and Rumble because they're not safe here, and I do little teasers to send people over there. No, I've never relied on it. Look, if I relied on YouTube for my living, then I would be, trying to, pimp my merchandise and do all kinds of super chat stuff. Wait, someone else does that. No. Just kidding. No, but and it's not Roman. No, but just kidding. I never relied on it. I never intended to monetize it. I never did. And whenever we talk about super chats and stuff like that on the program, it's really just it's a bounce back to the audience because the audience are the ones doing it. I'm not super chat my own channel. Other people doing it, and it's really cool. By the way, Roman, I had an unbelievable super chat, not boasting because I didn't do it, but a guy in Sweden, Waldo Kern, gave a super chat north of 500 US bucks on the channel this month. By the way, that's like 90% of the super chat revenue this month.
That's like 10 times more than I ever received. I think the highest one I ever got, I think, was 2,000 Rand.
Are you serious?
So it's about what, 100? Yeah, 2,000 Rand. When I used to live stream every day, you can make good super chat money. During the lockdown, people were bored. They were still getting paid, I assume. They're like, okay, here's 2,000 Rand. And then they have a witty comment. But, I don't want to... I actually stopped live streaming because I don't have the time. I'm building everything else. But number two, I don't want to feel like I'm doing this because I want...
Well,
super chat. Unlike other people, we know.
Well, to be honest, the reason. So, and I've stuck to this. The two things: the beard and the live chat, the live streams. I did make a promise when I started doing live streams, and people were really getting the channel. And my channel went from 1,000 subscribers in May to 22,000 by November 30th after the election or the choosing of 2020. So in that time frame, I did promise people two things. I would continue to live stream as long as this political hysteria continued and this lockdowns were continuing, and the beard wasn't coming off until I made at least one trip to Europe and Africa, and then the beard comes off. I want to arrive in South Africa and have a Durko employee freak out thinking that Pete Retief has come back. So until I've had a chance to do that, they're staying. So that's really why I do the live streams. Plus, honestly, people ask why do you do it. The payback for me is that it keeps me sane. It keeps me engaged. I constantly read like I've always done my life. My biggest concern now is because I decided not to take formal employment and just take consulting, is that what if I don't get anything for a while? What if I'm not engaged? Does my mind turn to mush? Do I not study and stay up on things? But by doing the broadcasts regularly every day, it keeps me doing that, forces me to do it. So it's a good forcing function until I can get back on the road traveling again. So that's kind of why I do the broadcasts. The super chats are nice, but it's really to inform people.
Yeah, I have a joke about OK Grandpa, but I won't do it. I wish I had time to.
Go ahead, bring it on.
I wish I had time. No. You said I have to keep myself engaged, so you do live streams. It keeps you on your toes. No, I think that's fair. I think that's really fair. So I will do that on Patreon from now on. So join me there if you want, twice a month. But yeah, I really do love the live streams. I just don't have the time, man. I just wish I did. I just don't. I just don't. And for anyone out there who's listening or watching, 106 of you, like Chris, I don't know, you've done a lot with your life. You're much older. You've done much more than I have. But having a YouTube channel is possibly like one of the best things I've ever done. I don't know about you. I think you might feel the same way. Just the amount of opportunity and people and things that arise when you sort of just create original stuff for the internet. Like, it's quite astounding when I look back at 2 years ago and now, the people that I met, the stuff I've been able to film, the stuff I'm able to talk about. Like, it's really gratifying. It's a lot of work and all that, don't get me wrong, but it's like the best thing I've ever done, and I think more people should do it.
Well, I would agree with you. I wouldn't say it's the best thing I've done, because I've been fortunate to be part of some truly amazing, life-changing things. So, but nonetheless, it's been truly a fascinating and wonderful experience in many respects. And even with the hate-wanking trolls that show up, it makes for entertainment at times. But no, I agree. It's really awesome to be able to, and especially with my old channel before it got spanked. I still have a global audience, but I had a guy in Nepal that would watch my program every day, Authentic Max. Andre Jacobs comes in from China. He's a South African, but he's in China. And just the ability to reach out with people that were already in my own network and introduce them to the world, former ambassadors, politicians, people in business, and people in media, and then also expand my network. Especially in South Africa, which is great interest to me. I never would have ever imagined I'd have a conversation with Steve Hofmeyer. I'm not a fanboy, but it was a pretty cool thing to do, have a conversation with him. And speaking of which, I've got coming up here very soon once again. In fact, this is why I really love this thought about the Freedom Front Plus. They told me that Dr. Peter Groenewald was too busy because of the coalition and all the stuff going on. He didn't say that, but that they would get back with me in the new year. And son of a gun, I had an email this morning saying, would you like me to schedule Dr. Groenewald to come back on your program? It's really cool, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's been very gratifying for me. And what I've also liked too is that, I'm reaching out to people all over the world, and it's really cool. And so for that, it's a really gratifying experience. Did you want to jump in? Because I got a comment for you, but go ahead.
No. It's like putting your CV out to the world. Instead of introducing yourself, you just link whatever you want that you created. Yeah, and people have a good sense of really who you are, what you look like, what you sound like, and what you're interested in. I never have to write, not that I wrote a CV before, but I never have to introduce myself ever again. I can just say, hey, this is me, this is what I've done, here's all the evidence, let's chat. And people are like, oh, look at all he's done, let's chat. It's
Absolutely.
Nice.
Now, John Jarvis asked a question. Now, this is an interesting question, and I'm going to give my comments on it first before you answer it. So John Jarvis said a question for Roman, but I'm going to answer it anyway, John. Would he say that the channel model would be similar to for Morning Shot going forward, would be similar to the Lotus Eaters overall offering? I find that interesting. I find that Lotus Eaters very compelling, but I also find their audience is very small, and I don't understand why that is. They do a very professional studio, and I think that's what John's getting at. Are you familiar? I assume you're familiar with the Lotus Eaters. These guys, these English oaks, they're pretty good. I really like their approach, and I don't know where they came from or what that's all about, but I watch them periodically. So John's question is, would your model be similar to that?
It will have to be yes. Number one, yes, Lotus Eaters are a good inspiration. So I actually know Sargon of Akkad, who's one of the main guys who created it. He was on YouTube for a number of years, got big during the culture wars of 2016 and 2014 even. We spoke to him a few times on a previous show that I did called Renegade Report, the podcast. And as far as I understand, he got a good investment in Lotus Eaters, and actually their YouTube stuff is not their main deal. They put that to market their paywall. So apparently they got thousands of people paying £10 a month or whatever the case might be, and they're making very good money behind the paywall. So YouTube is just at the shop front, the advert for people to come inside, and to come inside you need to pay £10 a month. So I think that is the way to do media in general. Free media doesn't work. Paywalls unfortunately do work, but obviously you need to give value for that paywall. So it's going to be one element of the company, not just we can't rely on one idea to make it work. We have to rely on a variety of things with different income streams and different teams to make it viable. So hopefully we can, for example, sell merchandise or tickets to live events or things like that, and we put that money into getting a studio, and then we put that money to creating a much better website with a paywall or whatever the case might be. It's multifaceted, but Lotus Eaters, I can recommend them, and yeah, they're really good.
No, absolutely. And you're spot on with that. As far as my vision for where I was going before, and this was what I was already looking at in December of 2020, my vision was that if I could zoom this thing up to 100,000 subscribers on the other channel, which got to 23,000, if I could get there, then my intent was, because I have a Patreon account, I have a Subscribe Star, I have all those pay things, but I don't charge anybody anything because nobody goes there. But the intent is, once you have a base in which people who can afford and are willing to pay for that content, then you drag them over there and you make unique content that's focused on that, and then this just becomes a gateway to it. The YouTube for me has been kind of a gateway to get people to go to my other social media, because nobody follows me on Twitter, guys. I don't really use it much, and these other things. It's really been a gateway, and there's been a big cramp in it. The one thing I can say about it though is that for the relatively small number of people that are subscribed to my channel right now, which is about 5,300. I have some pretty incredibly large audiences, given I see people with 120,000, 200,000 subscribers, and I see maybe 80, 100 people in their live streams, but I habitually get 100, and when I have certain guests on, I get 250, 300 sometimes, which is really awesome. It's very gratifying, but you need to scale that up, and that's what so a lot of people, Roman, let me get your thoughts on this. A lot of people don't get obsessed about the number of subscribers you get, but I think the people that say that don't appreciate the fact that you have shenanigans of YouTube who unsubscribes people just capriciously. I don't know why. They also, I get if somebody hasn't been to a channel in 6 months or a year, that's fine. But unsubscribing people capriciously, they also don't notify people. Their system is very inept, or it's intentionally done that way. Plus, there's obviously some shadow banning going on. And if you don't grow your base continually, you have mostly people who are not habitual viewers, but they're sometimes viewers. They'll come and watch your content sometimes. Now, your morning shot, you're there 10, 15 minute thing is an exception. You've got a pretty solid base about 8. You used to get 13 and 15,000, I think, for that every day. Now you get about 8 or 10, if I'm not mistaken. But that has a lot to do with the YouTube phenomenon too. YouTube died down after 2020 when a lot of people went back to work and they started deplatforming people, which pissed a lot of people off. But if you don't grow, it's not about, I've got 100,000 subscribers. It's about a mass. It's about inertia. You have to have the inertia so you can keep going. And if you aren't growing, then you're stagnating and potentially regressing. And then you have to wonder if it's really worth it, especially if it's a gateway to other things.
Exactly. The subscribers is just the amount of potential customers. And I know Jerm used to hate me for this, but I always have seen this as a business opportunity.
Yeah.
I give my stuff away for free for now. I give some of it away on Patreon for paid members. But really, YouTube, and I'm always honest in my videos, I always try to put my best. I'm not using it. I don't just, do flippant content just to get people to pay for something else. I really put my heart and soul into the free stuff. But it's always been the objective to create a solid business from it, whether it is conservative media, whether it is a variety of other things that we're doing on the side. And you have to treat it like a business for it to grow. You can't just have this thing where, I want to be Joe Rogan, I'll just speak to anyone for 3 hours. Mate, he's been doing that for 12, 15 years in a different country to you, in a place where it's far more polarized media-wise, and with a place that's with far more people and far more people with money. Yep. So, Joe Rogan was making, say, $20 million from his podcast anyway before Spotify. You're not going to do that here at all. There's no market, there's not enough people. If I top out at 1 million subscribers and 80% of them are in South Africa, I have cornered my market. I know that is the limit. That is absolutely the limit. But between here and then, there's a hell of a lot of work to do. There really, really is. So for 2020, we got 20,000 subscribers. Last year, we got 10.1 thousand subscribers. I was very disappointed. I actually wanted to get close to 50,000 by the end of 20. But all sorts of things happen where it can't happen. So now you just have to create more content, be consistent, and make stuff that people might want to watch, while remaining true to why you're doing it in the first place. I think a lot of people get lost with that.
Well, for me, I think the obvious thing, so if anyone, not that there's ever accused me, but if someone accused me that you're doing this to try to make money, if I was, given my political science background, my national security background, my intelligence background, and having been for 36 years, I'd probably have a channel exclusively devoted to U.S. politics and the situation here, and I'd be rolling the dough, because for starters, when South Africans, and I'm grateful they watch my videos that have ads on it. Most of them aren't monetized anymore. I got tired of their ads, but I started putting ad on a few videos again. And some South Africans watch that loyalty, and I appreciate that. But the bottom line is, when it comes to ads, I get 7 times the revenue, even though it's only a few cents, 7 times the revenue if an American watches it with an American IP address, vice a South African, because your market's so tiny and they don't pay well.
Yeah.
So I mean, honestly, if it was all about money, I wouldn't be talking about Africa. It's not where the bonanza is, unless you're the mining industry or you're a corrupt politician. That's not where the money is. I do it because that's where my interest is and that's where my love is. But I know as much or more about the United States and could easily do it about this in Europe. And it's just but yeah, I'm with you on that. It's for me, the media arm is something I wanted to do as part of my consulting, and I like to keep that. But I think I'll probably, as long as I don't get taken off YouTube for permanently at some point, which I don't vision. But if that were to happen, I'll go elsewhere. But I'll continue to do. I'll just scale it back a little bit. Maybe I won't do daily live streams at some point if I actually turn the media arm into something more than it is right now. This year for 2022, for my channel, I'll share my thoughts with you here, is that I intend to have more regular programs, and I've already started that with Answer the Question with Rob Hutchison, which I'm really enjoying, and Rob is too. And then we got a new one, Fireside with the Colonels. That's with Wyatt Dutoy. So we'll do that fortnightly. We won't be playing Fortnite, but we'll be doing it fortnightly. Anyway, and then I've got a couple ideas for a few more programs. And then on the rugby channel, I'm going to go full court press, and I'm going to dig into my own pockets and here spend more money traveling for Major League Rugby to cover that. It's the 5th season for Major League Rugby, and this is a chance for the sport to break out in the States this year. So I'm going to try to do it, not maybe from an altruistic standpoint, but spend more time on the journalism side there. So that's kind of what I'm up to. Now, there was a couple comments here. Paulie said, I'm really enjoying the Morning Shots website where he's got various columnists, including Chris. Been some very good articles there by various people. Well, thanks, Paulie, and thank you for suggesting that I go try it, because I hadn't really, when I had seen Morning Shot before, I didn't realize that Roman had anyone but himself writing articles on there. So I then I saw there were other people after you said it, and I went there and checked it out. And then Buffy Low Soldier says, topic has been, I don't know, something _ Morning Shot. Give your editor a pay raise and compliment for the audiovisual movie clips in your clip to enhance emotion and comedy. Okay. I don't know if that's from your producer, editor, partner, business partner.
I hope not. Listen, my editor gets paid much more than I do from Morning Shots. I make zero money from Morning Shots. It takes up hours of my day, but I've, in terms of return, I get nothing. Like, everything goes to mostly my editor, if I'm honest. So he gets paid well, and he got a pay raise this year anyway. So don't worry about him. He's in good stead.
And Corona's Boring says, don't listen to Chris on military stuff. He thinks a caveman was responsible for 9/11. Okay, I think he's trying to be funny there. Oh, he just deleted it. I saw it. I saw it too late. I saw it. And the Petsu film crew comes back and is all about how to optimize video, having hook, conflict, reward, resolution to emotionally overwhelm your audience, focusing unique viewers, keep ladder above subs, you are growing subs and ego trip. I disagree with that portion. I agree with everything you said there, Film Zoo Crew, but the last part, I've experienced it. If you don't grow, then your channel stagnates. I mean, look, General Inflatables is here. She's a lovely lady, and I haven't seen her in donkey years.
She is.
I haven't seen her in donkey years.
Same.
And she's watched my channel religiously, and then she gets busy in life, and she's not here. Like, she's watching Ramon's content, but she's not here for my content. No. Anyway, but seriously, I mean, and not to call her out because she's a lovely lady, but I mean, that's the sort of thing. You get people come and go. And if you're trying to get a message out and reach an audience, you got to grow. And it is about subs, but it's not about subs from an ego standpoint. Look, I like I said, the rewarding part for me is that right now there's 100 people watching the show. And yeah, maybe 60 of you are here just to look at Roman. Maybe that's why you're here, but at least you're here, you know?
Well, hopefully a bit more than that.
Oh my goodness, you're greedy. Yikes. Anyway,
so someone very clever said, "Don't be humble if there's nothing to be humble about."
Well, yeah.
Or inversely, don't be so humble. You're not that great.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, humility is one thing, but hiding from accomplishments or hiding from what you hope to achieve is just stupid. I think that's not very good either. I did a recent show because I polled my audience, and I had done this I think at 2020 at some point, maybe once last year, but no more than 2 times. And I have done almost 2,000 live streams in 2 years. Almost 2,000. And I have produced probably about 1,200 separate prepared videos easily on the 2 channels together. Anyway.
That's more than me.
Of course. It's more than Ronaldo. Yeah.
I'm close to, oh, well, yeah, that's not difficult. I'm close to 900 unique videos on the channel.
Yeah. Well, I've got, I've definitely surpassed. That's about 1,200. But Anyway, so I did this thing. I pulled
That's
my own
impressive.
because people were asking me. They wanted to learn about me, about being in the military, what was being in the military like. They want to hear war stories, stuff like that. And I don't run around going, "Hey, look at me! I'm a colonel and I saved the world," for, and I found the oil in South Africa where Shell couldn't find it. Anyway, but no. So my audience said, "Yeah, we'd like to see your awards and stuff." And so I went to the basement, dusted off the box, opened up the box, brought out the certificates, which aren't in frames. They're still in the little plastic covers. They give them to me, along with letters, retirement letters, and things like that. And I brought it up. I put it on here, and somebody came on trying to troll me on my channel about 5 minutes into it after I started showing, awards, and explaining what they were for and why it was granted to me. And they said, so Chris, what's your thoughts about people who are boastful? And I said, well, generally speaking, I don't care for people who are boastful. I said, but do you think that I'm boasting? First off, look behind my studio. Do you see any "I love me" wall? Do you see any, I wrote a President's Daily Brief that saved 640,000. Do you see that behind? No, you don't see that. Do you see any medals or decorations? No, it's not boastful. It's simply sharing with people. They get to know me better and they want to know. They ask for it and I provide it. So it's just kind of funny. So I agree with you. People shouldn't hide things that they've done. You should be proud of what you've accomplished. And if you have goals and you want to accomplish something else, you should share them if you want to. There's nothing to be ashamed of.
Well, I mean, that's how you hold people accountable. So I tell people what I want to do on purpose, so that holds me sort of accountable. They can say, okay, I will certainly do this by this date. Like, you must tell the world to keep you accountable. Because accountability is all that really matters in this game, or in any game, if I'm honest.
Well, I agree.
And I keep saying, if I'm honest, a lot. But yeah, no, accountability is very important. And if you do it, celebrate with everyone else who's been part of the journey. But you have to tell everyone that the journey has taken place in the first place.
Well, absolutely. But I've learned, we're going to wrap up here in a second, but I've learned something from politicians I think is very valuable here. You need to set goals that are just easy to achieve. So here it is. I'm laying that marker out right now. I intend for my channel to reach 5,300 subscribers by the end of 2022.
You've already surpassed that.
No, I think, unless it happened on the stream.
You're at 5.39.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, 5.4. 5.4. There you go. And then we'll hold a press conference and we'll congratulate ourselves on achieving success. Anyway. Hey, Roman, I'm sure we could talk for hours, but look, it's been great chatting with you again, to get back in touch with you. And it's exciting to hear what's going to go on with Morning Shot. Thanks for sharing it. And also thanks for being a good sport where I did a little satirical video about it. The one thing I said, that's why I didn't understand why people are like, why do you have an issue with Roman? I'm like, Roman says, we want to dominate the internet. And I'm like, what about the rest of us, man?
People find a lot of conflict when there isn't any. Like I spoke to Germ publicly about a Holocaust denier or something. I'm Germ, focus on the COVID stuff. That's your forte. Don't have these open side conversations where your head falls out, right? You're going to lose. I will lose a debate against a Holocaust denialist. Because I just don't have the details. I haven't done 20 years of research like these people have. These are not dumb people. They're doing the research and they're trying to make an articulated view about the research they've done. Don't fall into that hole. It doesn't bring you anything. It won't make you popular with a lot of people. It'll make you popular with a very small amount of people who you don't want to be friends with. Yeah. Anyway, so we had that conversation, and then the people just came at me why do you hate Germ so much? I thought you were his friend. I'm subscribing forever. How dare you do that? And I just called Germ after. I was mate, what are these people doing? We are friends. We've been friends for 12 years. We still are good friends, irrespective of what we each do. But people just build up this antagonism where it really doesn't exist, and only because two friends are having a disagreement. Yeah. On what each other are doing. This is normal conversation any Friday night with family, but if you do it in the public, and it's a huge issue. And Germ and I were both flabbergasted by the reaction of hate.
No, it astounds me. It's it's not just that. It's of course I'm on the record as being a big supporter of Ted Cruz. I think he's a genuine conservative. And because after the January 6th events last year, he said it was a domestic terrorist event, the people that broke into the building were terrorists, I took issue with that. I took umbrage with it last year. He said it again this year. And all these people come out, he's fake. I told you, he's captured, he's corrupt. And I'm like, are you talking about the same guy that just yesterday grilled the CEO of United Airlines, Scott Kirby, when the guy lied in the Senate? And he said, Mr. Kirby, how many of your pilots have been put on unpaid leave as a consequence of your policy for jabs? I think it's 4. Would you be surprised to find out it's actually 400? No, that can't be true. Anyway, so Ted Cruz is who Ted Cruz is. I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater because he said something I disagree with. And there's no conflict or dispute there. It's all or nothing with people, and it's really frustrating, particularly when we're under siege from leftist ghouls who are trying to steal our liberty and put us in Australian penal colonies and take away our freedoms all over the planet. And you people are human, and you got to accept it. And also, just because people have a difference of opinion, like you and I early in the stream, we had slightly different takes on the coalition politics of South Africa. We don't agree fully on that. You may be right. I may be right. The two of us together may be right fully by putting our thoughts together. We don't know. We'll find out. But the bottom line is that we don't have a dispute. I don't even know if that's a disagreement. We just have a different take on it. And people need to understand that. They need to understand it. It's not a dispute or an argument.
So a goal for 2022 for the channel is to get more hate comments. Just so I know really, I read my comments and like 99% of them are positive, and I love it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think it's good that people find it valuable and entertaining and all the rest of it. But I worry sometimes that I'm not doing something correctly and no one wants to point it out. I just get like lovely comments all the time. I'm like, this is YouTube. It's supposed to be hateful and disgusting, but I just don't have that. I just don't have that problem, and it worries me a little bit. I don't want trolling. I want like concerted effort to say, Roman, you're wrong for these reasons, just so that I can learn or see something else from it. But so far that hasn't happened. So hopefully we have a lot more hate on the channel going forward. Like, if people don't subscribe but just watch and they're filled with rage, that's great. Like, I've dominated their day.
So you're looking for constructive criticism. I'm fine with that. I don't mind constructive criticism. I don't even mind it while I'm on air. But if you're desperate for sort of trolling sort of stuff, I could hook you up with my Australian fanboy. Let me read you real quick before you go. So this guy's been trolling me, sending me email unsolicited to my private email. He thinks he's clever. And he said, "Hey, Chris. Hi, Chris. Your idol, Novak, has had his visit to Australia canceled because he's a nasty liar. Justice has prevailed. The full federal court of Australia is found against him. He lied in Spain, he lied in Serbia, and he lied in Australia. You believe we should all roam the streets without obeying regulations or even wearing masks, free and easy, and you call yourself an intelligence officer. However, 98% of Australians don't agree with you. So go on a violent rant, critique my grammar, critique the font, critique the layout in English. Why not critique your eloquent, sarcastic replies? You're a sad, lonely megalomaniac. I noticed you did not publish my last email. Was it too close to home? Regards, Fred." Anyway, so that's from Fred, my Australian fanboy. So I'd be happy. I'd give him a little oxygen there because he wants the attention. So if you want, I can direct him to your site and maybe you could get some criticism there.
No, it's fine. I made a video about Novak and everyone agreed with me once again. It's very gratifying, but it's very annoying at the same time. Don't worry, we'll get there one day, Chris. One day I'll get the same amount of hate as you do. For some reason, I don't know why you get hate. What is it to dislike about you? You got a great beard. You've got a great background. You've got a great channel. I mean, maybe you're part of the deep state and people will be like, you the type of person who kicked Trump out of office, the deep state guys. I don't know.
No, I'm part of the people who actually voted for him. So, but let me wrap up because we got a danger going forever, and I know you got things to do. But I'm trying to find it real quick. Somebody here said, "Yeah, I'm here for the Roman. That's why I came." I told you, man. You adoring fans. You have fans, not just viewers, but fans. Anyway, Roman, thanks a lot. Let me give you a last chance to get a shot in here. Anything, not a morning shot, just a shot. Anything that you might want to share, maybe a message of hope, or maybe something about the channel, your channel, what's going on, and just some thoughts here before we wrap up.
No, well, and firstly, thanks, Chris, for inviting me. This is my first interview of the year, and it's a very nice one, as always. Thank you. No, basically, just keep building those institutions where the ANC can't get their grubby hands on it. Simple as that. It starts with knowing your neighbor, then it expands to maybe a neighborhood watch, then it expands to maybe having a fete once a month at the church that everyone goes to, and just meet the people around you. What you read and what you see doesn't really reflect who South Africans are. I drove across this country over December, 5,000 kilometers, which is 2 miles? I don't know the conversion, but we stopped in a lot of places. Perfectly fine, perfectly safe, perfectly happy, spoke to a lot of people, had a great time. Like, South Africa's great. It really is a great place. The hope is for the state to fail, but for you to create a sense of order around you through building your own institutions with people who want to do the same thing in private. And that is the great hope for South Africa. It's the South African people, funny enough.
Oh, that's awesome. Those are great thoughts. I would have been reticent here. I did miss a super chat earlier because we didn't get a chance to get to it from Brett Sessoms. Brett gave a super chat earlier, and Brett was asking if there's any updates on the kidnapping in Lens there in the southwest corner of Johannesburg. Don't know anything about that kidnapping. I don't know if you've heard about that, Roman. That's news to me. Brett must have caught that news. I'll take a look at it for the night owls and see if we can't find some information on that, Brett. Thank you for the super chat.
So just quickly on kidnapping, I am surprised that it's not a greater crime in this country, a la Mexico, because Mexico was the crime capital, or the kidnapping capital of the world. I'm very surprised. It has been happening in the Muslim community, though, for a long time. I actually know someone who manages to communicate these things for the past 5 years. It gets paid a lot of money by Muslim families whose husband or father or whoever has been kidnapped. And she massages the messages around it. She becomes a PR consultant for Muslim families, and she's a Muslim herself. So it's been happening around. Moti's the latest one, where they paid apparently 50 million rand, and now they moved to Dubai, and no one wants to talk about it. So it is happening to a far greater degree than before, and I think it's going to be one of the more dominant forms of crime going forward. So expect, if you like in private security, like leave your job, become a personal VIP bodyguard, you're going to make crap loads of money in the next few years, that's for sure.
Fair enough. So Petsu, I'll wrap up with a couple comments. Petsu Film Crew is the greatest troll everyone cannot understand, greatest Cape Independent supporter. Roman might be close on my heels on the latter. Serbia in contemporary history is fighting for freedom. Novak. I don't equate Serbia with freedom fighting. I equate it with totalitarian oppression, but that's my personal experience in former Yugoslavia, having been there on the ground. So I'll just say that. But Kevin Nicklin says, so Roman wants critique. Here we go. Lose the earbuds and wear proper headphones like Chris does. That's an honest critique. I don't.
Hold on.
Oh, that's funny, Kevin. Oh, Jonathan agrees with you.
I actually do have a pair, but I look like a nerd. Like, you look good with them. I look terrible with them because I got a small head, so I got these big things. I look like some alien.
Well, you know, the reason I wear these is because they're Bose noise canceling, and I schnookered myself into buying it duty free on a flight one time, and I'm flying now. I barely fly just around the U.S. I've been outside the U.S. in 2 years now because it's nonsense. So I mean, I never get to use them. So I said, instead of using the earbuds, let me start using these things, because if you don't, then this leather starts to get cracked if you don't use it regularly and take care of it. So that's why I've been wearing them. But and they're great for noise cancellation because all the outside noise gets cut out. But anyway, all right. So there we have it. So get rid of the earbuds, Roman.
I see another critique from Corona's Boring says I should wear makeup. Try to look professional. That's very rude.
That is very rude. It's also very gender stereotyping there too. You never know. We don't know what Roman identifies as. We never asked.
Maybe I am wearing makeup right now. Ooh. Now what?
Whoa, now what? Oh, I hadn't thought about that. You can identify as whatever you like, Roman. I identify as a lampshade because I shed light on the world.
That is awful. Jeez, the dad joke. My word.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. It was a dad joke. Anyway. Hey, somebody was saying something earlier about they enjoy your guest on Morning Shot. You don't do guests on Morning Shot, do you? I mean, I was on your program, but it was Renegade Report when you interviewed me, and that was going on 2 years ago.
Yeah, so I do have guests, but not as consistently as before, because we're doing other shows that are coming up. But yes, I still have guests every now and again. But funny enough, it's difficult to. Yeah, I just need to prioritize getting them on. Yeah, that's also a full-time job in and of itself.
Do you still do? Oh, I know. Trust me, booking people. I mean, I was up till 2:42 last night trying to book guests for future streams this month. Do you still do Renegade Report? Is that still around? I haven't noticed that in ages. Yeah.
No, that finished. I think you were the last guest.
Oh, great! I killed the program. Oh my God, my appearance was so bad it collapsed after that.
No, I think you were the last guest. No, my co-host just had too many things on his plate. He was finishing his medical degree and all that. I will have him back on Morning Shot once this whole state of disaster goes away and we have freedom of speech again in this country. Yeah. He has a lot of stories to tell because he's a doctor, and from the beginning he said this is all nonsense, and he's got a lot of stories to tell. So keep an eye out for that. Whenever the state of disaster ends, he will be on here, Joe Rogan, 4-hour live stream about everything.
Wait. So you're trying to tell me that a disease in which 5.4 million deaths are attributed to it over the course of, say, 27 months in a global population approaching 9 billion Yeah. Enough said. Enough said. Stop falling for it, folks.
Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying there are a lot of there are a lot of other things in the background that people don't know about that will, reach the light sooner rather than later. One hopes.
Some people do know about it. They refuse to accept it. I mean, here in the States, the federal government was paying out thousands of dollars if you had a patient that you took in who you tested positive, regardless of the outcome. The federal government poured billions of dollars into our medical system, and that money came from our pocket and by burying us in debt. But anyway, we're getting off track. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
Erica
Sorry, Chris.
says, no, that's right.
Yeah.
Erica says,
Yes.
why don't we do more streams? I don't know. We'll have to talk offline to see if he wants to do it. But anyway, that's it. I know you got to go. I've overstayed my welcome by 15 minutes on my own program. So thanks a lot, Roman. Good luck this year, and thanks for giving me the first interview there. I appreciate it.
Chris, the beers are mine. Thank you so much. Let's do this again sometime whenever you're free. And thanks a lot for having me. Really appreciate it. Really enjoyed it. And no doubt we'll be in touch quite soon, my friend.
All right, folks. Roman Cabanac. I'll let him. He actually knows what he's doing. I'll let him exit on his own from the stream. Usually I have to put people out there. Can you get out on your own? Let me see. Maybe I got to help him. There he goes.
I can leave if I want. Bye, everyone.
All right. Cheers.
Have a good
Thanks,
one.
Roman.
Cheers.
All right, folks. Hey, Roman Cabanac from Morning Shot. Thanks a lot, Roman. It's a pleasure to have you back. I didn't realize this is the first interview of the year. Really appreciate that. I've got a few people their first interview of the year, so it's been pretty cool thus far in January as we get into the new year. Folks, this morning was interesting. It snowed last night, and the temperature got warmer after it snowed, and the snow sort of melted underneath it. Then it froze overnight, and so I had to go out. It took me all of 15 minutes to shovel the snow, but then it took me about 40 minutes to break up the ice with my snow shovel. So I've already been out exercising this morning. So there'll be a night owls coming up here at, 2:30, 2:35 Eastern Standard Time to 9:30, 9:35 Central Africa time for Botswana, South Africa, Namibia. So tune in. Once again, thanks to my guests. I really appreciate Roman being back on the program. It's been a while since we had a chance to chat. And as you can see, we don't agree on everything. And if we did agree on everything, we'd just be, an echo chamber. So it's nice to have some disagreements. He's a good oak. He's a smart guy. And I appreciate you tuning in, folks. Good to see some folks we haven't seen in a while. And, right. General Flavell says she misses the checkers shirt. Yeah, I remember that. Are you talking about the yellow and black checker shirt that he used to wear? I haven't seen that in ages. Anyway, folks, thanks a lot. See you back here in a couple hours. Be sure to smash the like button. It costs you nothing. Brett, thank you for the super chat. If Brett Sessoms has left and missed me, recognize the super chat. My apologies for not getting to it sooner, Brett. But thank you so much for it. And thanks, everybody. Whether you can super chat, whether you can be a paying member to support independent journalism, or you're simply a subscriber, which is not simply, that's really important, a subscriber and a regular viewer or an occasional viewer. Thank you very much. We do appreciate it. And thanks a lot. And to Fred in Australia, you're right, man. 98% of Australians don't agree with me. You're so right. You're so right. Not. Anyway, folks, catch you in a bit. Cheers, everybody, and have a lovely day. We'll catch you back here on Chris Wyatt Africa in a bit. Cheers.